Now, what are the implications here? Well, first, strategy development can be seen as a cultural phenomenon. It's not just the analysis and the evaluation driving the strategy, it's the culture driving the strategy. Second, if that is so, then the risk of strategic drift is high over time because the organisation is going to find difficulty in changing the culture. And third, one of the prime reasons for using the sorts of analysis and the sorts of concepts that we introduce in the book is precisely to raise challenges and questions to the taken for granted assumptions of the organisation. What you can see is that these techniques are bases of challenging the taken for granted. So if culture is a way of understanding strategy development, how does it inform our understanding of strategic change? What are the implications for strategic change? Well, first, that the challenge of managing change is typically underestimated in organisations, at least underestimated if there isn't a crisis. Presumably what we want to avoid is a crisis. We don't want to be trying to change strategy when we're in big financial difficulties. We need to be changing strategy to avoid the drift, and that means changing strategy in phase 2, not in phase 4. So we need to be able to find ways of detecting signs of drift. And of course that's where the sorts of analysis, sorts of bases of analysis that we've talked about before might be very helpful. So what are the other implications for managing strategic change? Well, first, that strategic change may require cultural change, and that's not easy. Second, presenting a logic of strategic change, an argument for strategic change may be important, but it's not enough. People may accept the intellectual need for change, but that doesn't mean to say they can cope with it in cultural terms. Very often, top management seek to manage change by changing the organisational structure and the control systems, if you like, the logic of change again. That may be important, but it's not sufficient. It's not sufficient because strategies need to change in terms of people's everyday reality. And that means that we need to concentrate as much on the top of the cultural web as on the bottom half. Top management may concentrate on changing structures and systems. People's everyday world is determined by the routines that they follow, the occasional rituals that they experience, the stories they tell each other, and the day-to-day symbols that surround them. If they remain the same, nothing's changed. So managing change in those is just as important as managing changes in structures and systems. So the challenge for management is how to, yes, manage the big ideas, but to make those big ideas relevant to people in terms of their everyday lives.